Hey up, it's Steve from that old Yorkshire geek. Bit of Star Trek news now. Jolene Blalock has strong opinions for Star Trek Enterprise's writers over T'Pol's look and other things. If you look at the article with me. Here we go. This is from looper.com, as usual. Links in the description. Don't forget, like and subscribe, share the videos, drop a comment, hit the notification bell. I'm also on Rumble and Anchor.fm and Spotify and Amazon Music Podcast and Google Podcasts. Oh, pardon me, I've just had some coffee. And I'm also on the social medias of Facebook, Twitter and the Instagram. Links for those are in the description, as are the links for my 2 books. Here we go. Is Silent Predator, a horror book about big cats in North Yorkshire, and Mercury Rapids, a light-hearted action, sci-fi action adventure about a chap that gets abducted by aliens and ends up in a British version of MJ12 and goes to the Area 51 and all that stuff, and end up going to the moon and beyond and all sorts of places. It's all good fun. Right. Jolene Blalock had strong opinions for Star Trek Enterprise's writers over T'Pol's look. And there she is, as T'Pol. I believe that's probably in the earlier seasons, probably season 1. Maybe. Right, loyalty to the canon is incredibly important to most devotees of Star Trek. In Star Trek Creator, the authorised biography of Gene Roddenberry, author and journalist David Alexander illustrates the lengths that the creator of Star Trek himself went to make sure that the internal law and science of the crew of Starfleet, the United Federation of Planets, which Gene Roddenberry didn't even create. I think that was Gene Coons, wasn't it, that thought them up. And all the various races and species remain consistent. Of course, there's also the stereotype of the pedantic Trekkie, always able to pick up on the slightest deviation from the canon. That would be me. Then again, there is something to be said for canonical loyalty. Not only do a good portion of fans expect it, but a skillful writer, director or actor will see it as a source of dramatic tension, a challenge rather than a hindrance. What's more, some die-hard fans grow up to be a part of the Star Trek franchise. This was the case with Jolene Blalock. Am I pronouncing that right? I think so. Who played the Vulcan science officer T'Pol on the prequel series Star Trek Enterprise. Blalock was already a big fan of Star Trek, having watched the original series with her family growing up. As anyone who knows even the smallest bit of Star Trek lore will confirm, Vulcans are renowned for their stoicism and for valuing logic over emotion, going all the way back to Leonard Nimoy's Spock. While this may have presented its own challenge to the expressive Blalock early on in the run of Enterprise, there was another challenge that came later. And there she is, not as T'Pol. Portraying Vulcan stoicism may have been a test for Jolene Blalock, but she soon started to have the opposite problem. The writers and producers started having T'Pol display the one thing Vulcans are prone to shun: emotion. Writers began to show T'Pol not just showing emotion, but eagerly exploring it, even giving her an arc where she becomes addicted to a chemical that allowed her to do so. That was in season 3. Prior to the cancellation of Enterprise, T'Pol's father was going to be revealed in season 5 as a Romulan. I didn't know this, by the way. A race whose own emotionality would have ostensibly explained these characteristics. Add to it the slew of plot lines that went unresolved after the series' cancellation. Blalock was dissatisfied enough with these decisions and is quoted in a short, fan-sided piece as saying, "You might as well clip the ears." It's been a bit harsh. But her dissatisfaction didn't stop there. Blalock was irked by how frequently the show would diverge from basic realism, or for a sci-fi show, basic believability. For example, her hair never moved, even when T'Pol was in a physical fight. And if her hair did happen to move, the scene would need to be reshot. There's a lot of hairspray Vulcans, obviously. That's a nitpick, is that, isn't it? Then there was the sudden change in T'Pol's wardrobe in season 3, though her new plunging neckline was explained as a result of T'Pol having resigned the Vulcan High Command. Blalock called it out as a blatant attempt to boost ratings by showing a bit more skin. You can't substitute tits for ass for good storytelling. Tits and ass for good storytelling, said Blalock. You can have both, but you can't substitute one for the other because the audience is not stupid. Well, yeah, but You know, for the dads. That's what they did in Voyager, didn't they? Season 4, they brought in Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9. But to be honest, I'd have thought that they put her in. They should really have put her in a Starfleet uniform, shouldn't they? The one-piece suits that they all wore, really. But technically, she wasn't in Starfleet, was she? Well, she was taught. She was kind of given a field commission, I suppose, wasn't she? So they should have done. They should have put her in a Starfleet uniform of the time, but they didn't, because they wanted the sex cells, basically. That's it, isn't it? She was the what they call it, the sexy member of the crew. I noticed she doesn't moan about the very first episode of Enterprise where they have her and Trip in the decontamination chamber. I mean, that's the bit everybody talks about, don't they? But never mind. But I didn't know that about her father was supposed to be a Romulan. That's a new one to me, which would explain why. Because it was said in season 4 when she went home. We met her mother, played by Joanna Cassidy. Her mother said her emotions were always close to the surface. So that was obviously a precursor to learning why she did get quite emotional. But in fairness, a lot of the a lot of the Vulcans in Enterprise's Star Trek weren't the Vulcans that we come to know in the original series Star Trek. They were a little bit more emotional and a little bit less logical because they hadn't fully adopted the ways of Surak. And they covered that in season 4, in the episodes The Forge and Awakening and another one I can't remember, where we met T'Pau. We met a young T'Pau who essentially overthrew the Vulcan government, which were being influenced by the Romulans. Spoilers. And they set about changing Vulcan society and becoming a bit more logical, more like the Vulcans that we know from the future. But anyway, that's interesting anyway. But I don't know what she's complaining for. Made her a star. I know they don't get a lot of work, do they, afterwards. She has appeared in other things. She was in Stargate SG-1 and she's been in other things. But I think a lot of Trek actors, I think they feel a bit. I mean, they should expect it. I mean, they're probably told, this is it now, you're in Star Trek, and that's all you'll be known for the rest of your career. And the rest of the career is probably doing the conventions. They can make a lot of money out of it. They can make a hell of a lot of money out of it. I think I was watching a podcast, the Shuttle Pod podcast, and I think they were saying that Marina Sirtis was, I think she was the first Star Trek actor/actress to earn $1 million doing the convention circuit through autographs and stuff like that. So there you go. So there's money in it, but it's not the same as acting, I suppose, for them. Right, we'll leave it there. So just a bit of info about what Jolene Blalock thought about T'Pol over the years that she was in Enterprise, the four seasons. Yeah, well, 4 seasons, wasn't it? The 4 seasons that it ran for. And she was an interesting character. She wasn't the best character, I don't think, but she was interesting. She started off. They didn't trust her. She didn't trust them. But a bond grew, particularly between her and Archer, and then eventually between her and Trip. And they had a kid together, didn't they, sort of? Yeah, very interesting. Right, we'll leave it there. So, thanks for watching, wherever you are in the universe. Look after each other, and until next time, I'll say thee.